Alrighty everyone, welcome back. It is now August 28th of 2023, and given that there's a lot of things happening right now between the Disney live-action remakes, Marvel, Star Wars, and just Disney in general, like the parks, the merchandise, the stocks, it just keeps getting worse and worse for Bob Iger to handle, and it really makes you wonder, how is this man going under so much stress right now trying to stabilize this company? This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject, shall we? Now, for those of you that are very well aware, we have had a lot of box office failures by Disney throughout this year of 23. And with the Marvels as the up-and-coming film, that's really going to be, pretty much the seal of the deal of really making all these movies box office flops. The last one was Indiana Jones 5, Haunted Mansion didn't do all that well. I mean, the list goes on for Disney and it doesn't stop. Now, the latest has a lot to do with what's been going on with all of the plans that are being mapped out by Bob Iger and the board, and why I really do feel it's soul-crushing for a lot of fans out there of the original Disney source material. We're talking about the ones like movies from decades ago. Let's get into the actual details here and exactly what it really means for Bob Iger, the board, and of course, all of the Disney fans around the globe. Now, specifically, alright, if you guys did not like Little Mermaid, or you do not like what Snow White 24 is being set up as, I think that this is going to make things all the more worse, unfortunately but true. With the Disney board and Bob Iger making risky decisions as of late, one major development has to do with what they are about to do to the upcoming live-action remakes for the future. One of which has to do with plans for The Sword in the Stone and Tink, which both are going to fully embrace their DEI agenda. Now, Tink is set to focus on the story of Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell is set to get her own film after making her debut in Peter Pan and Wendy on Disney+. Initially, Reese Witherspoon was chosen to portray the role of Tinkerbell, and that rapidly fell apart after Yara Shahidi, correct me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, made her debut as Tinkerbell in the Disney Plus film, focusing on Peter Pan and Wendy. Another film in which it will divert from the source material as well is planned, of course, for Tink. As for Sword in the Stone, Disney's plan is to essentially give it a Game of Thrones treatment, both theming/tone-wise, and to turn it into a dark and gritty story than ever before. In fact, Disney is aiming to make it the darkest Disney live-action remake yet in history that will also promote their own DEI agenda once more. Brian Cogman of Game of Thrones is still reportedly attached to Sword in the Stone to give it the Game of Thrones treatment, which may or may not resonate or attract many fans. However, Disney does plan to do what they did with Snow White and the Little Mermaid to some of the characters in the upcoming Sword in the Stone remake. We'll get to that in just a second. Now, let me just say one thing about this, guys, before I get to the next big segment of this development, is that I don't know about you guys, but I really grew up with Sword in the Stone. I think that was like the big, male-focused Disney animated film that catered to boys at the time. And a lot of you may remember characters like Merlin or Madame Mim. I mean, it resonated. A lot of fans grew up with that actual film. And given that there's a lot of changes coming down the road with their current slate of live-action remakes, which, by the way, only very few will be announced or will be receiving updates at this year's D23. It's going to be very minute. However, at this year's last earnings call for Disney, of course, that's going to be presented by Bob Iger, that will be, of course, shared with the shareholders. That's where they're going to make a lot more announcements related to these up-and-coming live-action remakes, giving us more updates on that, officially speaking. So, tune in around November for that. But what's interesting about this is what they are about to do with Sword in the Stone and Tinkerbell. Alright, so we already know that they did what they did in Peter Pan and Wendy. We all know what they did to the character and how she's now getting her very own film that's going to follow the same exact route of The Little Mermaid and Snow White 2024. But here's the bigger issue at large, is that it's not just about their agenda, they're also ditching the source material for both Tink and Sword in the Stone. Alright, the same exact thing is going to go as follows additionally for other films out there, like Lilo and Stitch, as well as other ones that are still, in the works that they're trying to get and to move forward. However, this is where it gets more involved, is that specifically for the characters Madame Mim and Merlin will be drastically altered and changed for the new reimagining that is also going to drive away from the pure source material from the original animated film. The plan by Iger and the board is all about doubling down on their agenda regardless of what happened in the state of Florida, with characters like Tink, Merlin, and Madame Mim planned to get swapped and changed. This will only, of course, drive more fans away from those remakes planned and mapped out. Updates for these films, like I said before, will be announced during this holiday season. So what's the bigger issue at large here? A lot of you guys may be asking, is that they are doubling down on their agenda, and they keep on doing it more and more. It seems, and it's becoming more and more vivid at this point, that this is all deliberate, that they don't care about losing money, but at the end of the day, they just want to promote their agenda, and that's that. Now, some people out there may very well be, a little guarded or a little defensive over losing money because it makes them look bad. Bob Iger, he's a prime example. He always lies about how the company is doing so very well and how he has no concerns about everything. And this is exactly why 12 million subs abandoned Disney Plus throughout this year. Globally. Alright, that's globally. And Disney Plus is not really matching up with what they initially promised. I feel like, at least for the Star Wars stuff, everything is like low budget in appearance-wise, not very well written, just feels like they pump these things out way too fast and not much thought goes into them. That's how I feel. They feel like glorified fan fiction, to be honest. And the thing about what's going on now with basically the Sword and the Stone getting the Game of Thrones treatment and how it's going to be the darkest and grittiest Disney movie of all time, live action wise, I think is a big mistake. In fact, I think it's a crucial mistake. I think at the end of the day, it's going to cost them more fans. And whether or not they want to release that in theaters or on Disney Plus, that's all up to them. That's really all a part of the ongoing evolution of Disney. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But additionally, we know that these live-action remakes are not remakes. They are nothing more than a reimagining. That's what I call Snow White, a reimagining. That's why I keep on telling you guys, I feel it doesn't deserve to be called Snow White at all. If anything, maybe call it something else, like just flat out just call it Snow. That's it. But, like I say, Disney doesn't learn, they refuse to learn, and that's all a they problem. Anyway, guys, drop a comment below, fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys next time.
Gun in hand, we are alone again. From night to moon, we hear them moans again.